Welcome back. Thank you so much for returning. We are continuing the conversation with astrology, and the topic and area of focus is sidereal astrology. Before I go on, I really want to be clear that I don't at this time believe that sidereal astrology is better than tropical astrology. I don't want to give, that is not my position. That is not my position. So I can come off pretty strong and get really passionate and fired up about things, but for now, in my understanding of the disciplines, my argument, and again, guys, you will hear a lot of pauses in my speech because I am often I'm often asking myself, how do I want to say this? What are the words that I want to use that are the closest to what I like, the feeling of an idea that I'm wanting to express? So my podcasts, my videos it's a contemplative practice for me. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is because I know that people still get very impatient with slow thought. Like people are like, get to the point already. Well, the point is the process. The point is often the meandering. This fixation that we have and this prioritization that we have on bullet point experiences and linear experiences. We go from point A to point B, and I walk out of the situation with a clear understanding of what's going on. That happens in certain settings. Usually happens best in corporate settings. And of course, all of our social interactions have been corporatized in a way. I am one of those people who's really interested in helping more of us come back to, first of all, a slower pace of thought, something with more consideration, at least the space and the respect for more consideration. It is true that not every experience in life needs like drawn out spacious considerations. Often there are, it's either a black or white, yes or no, now or never situation. But that is not actually the majority of our lives, even though many of us live as though the intensity, the pressure of having to have an answer or a result within 5 minutes of having set out from the destination, whether the destination is intellectual or physical or spiritual, we've been conditioned to think that that's how life actually works. And I am one of those voices who's saying, actually, that's not how a real life works. Definitely how a scripted and conditioned and programmed and trained life works, which many of us have been taught how to do. But we're coming into a season of humanity's story where things are going to be feral and wild. We don't know what's coming. And we're not able to control, we're really not able to control life. And for those of you out there who are wanting to feel like you're actually living your life and that there's richness to it and that there's depth and there's a sense of respect for the complexity of your life, I am speaking to you and encouraging you to keep moving in that direction. It is real, that vision of feeling embodied in your own creation of life. It's a real thing. And some of the things that I talk about, astrology, for example, is a resource that you can draw on and engage with that can help you create in a way that feels meaningful, and it can be a resource that is also serving as an anchor for you. So, astrology is a language. That is what I would like you to keep in mind as we have these conversations. And like languages across the human family of languages, there isn't a right and wrong language. There may be an appropriate and less appropriate or less accessible, or there may be a language that doesn't communicate well across the field of whomever you're trying to communicate with. For example, if you speak Portuguese and you're surrounded by a bunch of English speakers, you're probably going to have a challenge. Somebody's going to have a challenge understanding somebody else. But it doesn't mean that Portuguese and English are wrong. It just means that they're two languages and they're expressing perhaps the same things in different ways. Portuguese is a very beautiful language. And the reason why I speak about language, one of the reasons why I speak about language so much, is because that is one of the things that I do in my life. I work with adults who are learning English, and my students are coming from a lot of different linguistic backgrounds. So language has been a great teacher to me. I also grew up loving words, so I will bring in word origins and word stories. So sidereal is the astrological language that I prefer to use at this time. And it's not a new approach, but it's not anywhere near as recognized as tropical, which is what many of us grew up paying any kind of attention to, even if it was just, as I said in one of the other recordings, even if it's just that you know what your sun sign is, even if you follow that up by, but I don't believe in that stuff. Like, even then, it's probably tropical that you got your information through. So I am going to be talking about just working with the sidereal chart. And I want you to keep in mind, I want you to think of it as learning another language. First of all, astrology is a language. It's a symbolic language. It can be a divinatory language. It's a mythic language. It is a cosmic language. It is an ancestral language. And all of this depends on who your teachers are. It depends on your relationship with the heavens and with the earth. It depends on a variety of things, and it can be language in all those different areas. And then within astrology, there are different accents. There's Hellenistic, which is classical Western astrology. There's Vedic astrology, which is, I know very little about Vedic astrology, but it's coming out of, I believe it's India's tradition. And I say it that way because I'm thinking of Hinduism right now, and that is a religious and spiritual practice that extends beyond India. So I think Vedic came out of India, but it could have been some of the surrounding areas as well. That one's important because some people will hear sidereal astrology and think that we're talking about Vedic astrology. And my understanding of the two is that they're similar in the sense that Vedic astrology works with the true constellational patterns, but they're looking at the sky from a different perspective. They're working with different elements. They have a lot of beautiful words in Vedic astrology. There's shamanic astrology, there's evolutionary astrology. I'm I'm just going back in my mind through some of my teachers. So I have been trained and raised up in tropical astrology. That's where the majority of my formal training has come from. I have been sitting with my sidereal astrological chart for many, many years. I do not remember when I was introduced to it. And I have grown into my sidereal chart in terms of my relationship with it. Right away, when I saw the chart, it's very different from my tropical chart. And what I encourage you to do is go pull your tropical chart and look for a sidereal, true sidereal chart. The thing about true sidereal that you will notice is that when it's drawn up with the sidereal sizes of the constellations, what you know as the house system, first of all, it'll have 13 houses, because where the area that we're looking in has 13 constellations. Very controversial, but when we look at the sky, you will see them. And there's a really cool app that you can download. I believe it's called Stellarium. I'm just pulling mine up right now. Yeah, Stellarium. You can take a look at the sky, which I recommend that you do. It's a lot of fun. But you will see the houses will have different sizes. They'll not be perfectly even. They'll not be that perfect 30-degree size, like that pie size that we see in tropical and that we see in Vedic astrology, from what I understand. The true sidereal sky on your physical chart, like your handwritten or digitally printed chart, is actually, it's going to reflect the sizes of the constellations in two-dimensional form. So, for example, Aries is a pretty small constellation, and Virgo is a pretty big constellation. And so when we're looking at them in that 12-piece pie, when you see it in a true sidereal chart, you're going to notice that the space given to Virgo is going to be wider than the space given to a sign like Aries. The size of the pie doesn't give any indication to the quality of that zodiacal sign. It's just talking about like the distance that we're traveling from one point of that constellation to the next point before we get to the next constellation. I heard something very, very interesting about Aries that I would like to share with you, and I'll probably come back to this again. And this is going to hopefully help you. The more you listen to this, the more things are going to start falling into place, especially if you've been spending all of your time with tropical. It's a bit of a, it's jarring. It's jarring. People are very resistant to it, and all of that is okay. And still, when we're looking at the sky that you're looking at today, it has a different story to tell than the tropical sky. And again, two different languages underneath the umbrella of the language of astrology. Perspectives, two different lenses, two different perspectives. It's a different way of looking through the kaleidoscope. Both of them are valid. My tropical chart is very, very useful to me, and it has been incredibly useful to me over the years. I am just in a different place in my life, and what I'm seeing in my sidereal chart, I am ready to embody that. I am ready to practice that chart. I have been growing into that chart through the story that my tropical has told me, including my human design. The human design shift from tropical to sidereal for me is pretty cool. And also I can see how the story in tropical is being continued in the sidereal framework now. I encourage you to go pull up your own charts and do this practice with me. We're doing our experiment and our practices together. But getting back to this thing that I heard, I was listening to someone speak about the positions, the sizes of the constellations. And right now, there's a lot of talk like we're coming into the spring equinox, and in tropical, we're preparing to enter into Aries. I believe that happens tomorrow. Today's the 18th. No, it's the 20th of March. So I'm familiar with Aries season, and I'm just trying to think of like how much do I want to. I don't want to share that right now. So, tropically speaking, we will be beginning the Aries season on the 20th, and it'll run through April something. I do not have numbers memorized, guys. I have to write everything down, typically. But actually, in sidereal, we are still in Pisces, and we will be in Pisces through the beginning of what we call Aries in the tropical zodiac. And the interesting thing for me, as I was listening to this person speak, they were saying Aries is actually like a 20-day cycle, like the actual zodiac. The time that the sun moves through that zodiac is about 20 days. Do not quote me on this, because I was walking and listening as I was listening to this, and I found it really interesting, because in the tropical, Aries is given like a full month, 28 to 30 days, or 31 and a half or something like that. Every sign in tropical is given the same amount of days, but the reality of the movements in the heavens today in our life is that it's different from constellation to constellation. So Aries, we're just going to use these numbers. Aries gets about 20 days. And then Virgo was the other example. And Virgo is a bigger constellation, meaning that the space between the stars that make up the constellation of Virgo, they're broader. They take more space up. And that constellation, apparently, the sun takes about 48 days, I believe I heard this person say. So again, the dates aren't important right now, like the exact dates. But what we're hearing is like about 20 days for Aries and about 48 days for Virgo. That's the passage of time. So if you in tropical are an Aries, or in tropical if you are a Virgo, in sidereal, you are very likely to be a Pisces or a Taurus, depending upon where on the other side of Aries your birth date falls. And for Virgos, Libra is on the other side of Virgo. None of that's important right now. What is important is, let's think about this. For those of you who know like what the qualities of the constellations are. So Aries often, like, that's the initiator, the catalyst, the one who goes first. Aries energy is often called like a burst of energy, but the Aries archetype is not known for being a maintainer, not known for having longevity. The Aries energy in each of us gets really excited, gets inspired, and is designed to act on instinct. So you see something you like, you have an idea that you like, and the Aries energy in you is meant to go for that thing, get it started, catalyze it, move that fire, move that energy. There are other elements that will come in to maintain it. Aries is the one that's supposed to start it. It's the beginning of spring. It's the plants coming out of the ground, like that shoot of green breaking through the frozen earth. Virgo is the maintainer. I fell in love with Virgo years after I started studying astrology, when somebody said to me, Virgo is the priestess. Now, many of you, I'm sure, have heard this over and over again, but I was decades into astrology before anybody explained Virgo to me in a way that would make sense to me. Prior to that, I'd heard about Virgo being routine, and like the stereotypical things about Virgo that makes Virgo like maybe a little bit less interesting and compelling to some people. But like routines, small daily tasks, um, perfectionism. But when one of my teachers expanded that out into the priestess archetype, which I heavily and joyfully identify with, then small daily tasks becomes the ritual of setting the altar of our life, caring for the altars of our body, caring for the temples of our relationship. Like the Virgo language just opened up for me. In the context or the conversation of Virgo being 48 days versus Aries 20, when something is supposed to initiate and either start the fire or light the fire that got sparked off, that's going to be a very fast process. And then it's going to be over and we're going to be moving on into the next thing. With Virgo, Virgo is going to maintain the things that we're building. Virgo, the Virgo in us, each of us have these qualities. That is the part of us that's going to find the routines, the rituals, the schedules of commitment that are going to allow us to continue developing whatever it is we're developing so that we can build whatever it is we've decided to build or have been called to build. That process takes longer. So that 48 days within the Virgo energy makes perfect sense to me. Makes perfect sense that Aries would be quick and out the gate and then like transition quickly into the next archetype, which is Taurus, which is going to solidify some things for us. And then a bigger constellation where we're spending more time, which means that people whose birthday is around the Virgo Libra timeframe, you're probably in the sidereal, you're going to find yourself in one of the other signs around Virgo. It's very, very interesting. Leo, Virgo, Libra. I'm pausing. I'll share something else with you all. Again, going back to breaking the spell of having perfect, fixed, fast answers to our questions, which I'm not here to provide for you. I grew up professionally sitting around a lot of elder teachers who would tell stories. When they were leading a retreat or workshop, I've got two teachers who come to mind right now. First of all, this was in the days before internet, social media, for sure. So we had physical brochures that we would they'd be a single page or they'd be folded like a trifold. But my teachers, one of them in particular, she would say, I'm inspired. I get the name, like the name of the retreat. I get the name of the retreat. And she said, I would write some things down, but I would never know what it was I was going to actually be teaching. And whatever came as we're together, it comes in response to the people who show up to participate. And the people who show up to participate, they're responding to the poetry of the title of the workshop. Something in them is called in to the experience, but it's not a clear understanding. Again, it's not a bullet pointed understanding of what's going to happen. It's I feel something in me that's responding to this workshop or retreat name. I'm reading through the brochure. It's like, I don't know if somebody asked me exactly what are you going to come out of this experience with, I would not be able to tell them, but I can feel that I need to be there. That is how a lot of us moved back then when I was taking classes. And I think that many of you are still out there in this way, but I think that we've also gotten comfortable with having teachers who can lay things out for us in a very you're going to get this, and like what you'll get. You'll see this on people's websites a lot, what you'll get. And then it'll list off the things you'll come away with, PDFs for this and checklists for that, and you'll come away with an understanding of this and blah, blah, blah. I still appreciate that. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that. And also with the people that I'm speaking to and the things happening in my own life, what I want you to understand and recognize, especially if you are tuning into esoteric material, I am going to say spiritual material. Some people might say those are the same things, or people will say those are the same things. But, you know, if esoteric doesn't speak to you, spiritual might. I'm going to just say for everybody, doesn't matter if it's like tangible or intangible experience, what is happening with us in the world on this planet at this time, I am seeing a lot of disruption. So again, I am encouraging you to become someone who has the capacity to sit in the questions, to sit in your own curiosity, and to, as many of my teachers have said over the years, to make friends with the mystery. And so when I have these conversations, when I bring this information up, I am sharing with you what I'm inspired to share in the moment. These are typically things I've been thinking about for a long time, but it won't necessarily come out in a linear way. My teachers shared information and I had to be paying attention. I had to be paying attention to my body and the way that my physical antenna would respond, and pay attention to my mind when something would click into place. And it didn't, sometimes it might have been standing in line to choose my food during our lunch breaks on retreats and overhearing a conversation that people might have been having. So I probably will continue to say this because I do believe what I'm sharing is very, very valuable to those who are looking for this information. And because we're coming out of a period of time in which we were so certain that we knew what we were looking at, that we knew who we were, that we knew what direction we were headed in, and we're coming into a time where we don't have that kind of clarity or reassurance anymore. I'm asking you to build the muscles of mystery and receptivity and exploration and adventure. Those are very Aries nature qualities. Also Piscean qualities. I would even say the adventure. You know, a lot of people talk about Pisces being like adrift in the void or lost in the void or comfortable there, but Pisces, like water also flows. And there is an adventurous quality, especially, you know, have you ever been on a whitewater rapids? That's not a passive water experience. And there are plenty of shorelines with waves crashing in, not a passive experience. So something else that I feel like is important for this time is like busting up some of these stereotypes. One of the stereotypes of Pisces being passive. I don't believe Pisces is a passive sign. I do believe Pisces has a lot of capacity and a lot of comfort, a lot of like the Piscean nature in us is very comfortable waiting and being with and being internal and still and these kinds of things. Whereas the Pisces nature or the Aries nature is like movement, direction, response, like call and response. Like Aries has a lot of call and response to it. It's beautiful. But Aries also has a wisdom that we don't talk about very often. You know, something runs its head into an experience enough times, and we have to walk away from wisdom on some level. So anyway, I'll talk about those later. I think for now, what I'm wanting to provide for you and encourage you to do is to break out of boxed in thinking. Wherever your thinking has become boxed in, and it's going to be different places for all of us, I am encouraging you to come out of that boxed in thinking. We are in a period of time that needs our creative thinking. And working with your sidereal traits, your sidereal qualities, your sidereal energetics and signatures is one way that you can help yourself expand your thinking, challenge your thinking, reorient your thinking. There's a lot of words we can use there. So please go find your tropical chart. And if you are working with human design, go find your human design chart and then go look for a true sidereal astrological chart and a true sidereal human design chart. There are websites out there. I will include my site. You can go download a free chart in both of those, true sidereal and human design. The challenge with my true sidereal program right now is that it still is set up in the perfect circle. So it'll get you close, but it won't be 100% true sidereal. I'm working on that. Okay, folks. So yes, you hung with me for 32 minutes and you're still alive. You can play these in the background and go on about your business and listen to it again and again. Please share your thoughts in the comments. As I have said before, we are doing this in community, even if we can't see each other. So when you share your experiences, when you share resources, you are helping others out there who are looking for community and looking for support in these areas. You're helping them know we are not alone. So thank you, and I will be back again with another one.